Welcome back, 3D students. In this video, we're going to create some materials for our creature. So let's get started. I think the first thing we need to do is go ahead and save your file if you haven't done so already. And then right-click and select Save As. And then I'm going to save a version here. Right now I have Monster02. I'm just going to click this plus sign right here. And that creates Monster03 for me. So now the last state of my monster is preserved. I need to go back to it. So let's go ahead and select the body and turn off NURM smoothing. And select the tongue and turn off NURM smoothing for that as well. Let's turn on edged faces. We're going to attach the tongue to the body so they can share one material. But before we can do that, we need to check the tongue and make sure that it looks good in terms of its symmetry, because we're going to have to convert it to an editable poly. So let's select the tongue and right click and select Hide Unselected, and that will hide everything else in the scene. And then I'm going to switch to the top viewport and switch to vertex mode and grab all of these vertices, just the ones down the center here. Switch to my scale tool and scale them in on the x-axis so I can be sure that they are straight. And then I'm going to switch to the move tool and I'm going to right click on the x coordinates to zero them out and make sure that all of these vertices are on the x-axis. And that should ensure that everything is welded up and the tongue is good. We don't want a situation like this where there's a hole in the center of the tongue. That's what we're trying to prevent by doing what we just did. So let's switch back to the perspective view. And I'm going to exit subobject mode and take a look at the tongue, turn off edged faces. And this weird shading that we have right here is due to smoothing groups. So to fix that, if you have that problem, let's switch to polygon mode, select all the polygons, come over here and scroll down and find the smoothing groups, click Clear All, and assign them all to 1. And that should take care of that. Well, let's apply NURM smoothing and see if there's any holes. It looks pretty good. So now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and right-click and convert it to an editable poly. And now let's unhide everything else. So we're going to click Unhide All. It's going to give me this message because I have some things hidden over here in my layer manager. I'm going to go ahead and click Yes. And that's going to unhide our reference layer. I'm just going to hide that again. Okay, I just noticed I did something wrong here. I converted my tongue to an editable poly when smoothing was turned on. So I'm going to hit undo a bunch of times. Hopefully I can get back to where that happened. Here it is. See, I have symmetry still applied to the tongue. So I'm going to select editable poly here and turn off NURMs. Now I'm going to convert it to an editable poly and unhide all. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, now we can attach the tongue to the body. So select the body, find Attach in your parameters, and click the tongue. And then you can turn off Attach. And then let's check everything with NURM smoothing. And that looks really nice. Turn off NURM smoothing. And now let's create a material for our creature. So open up the material editor and drag out a multi-sub-object material. And this will allow us to apply different materials to different polygons or groups of polygons on a single mesh. So let's drag off the first node, select Materials, General, Physical Material, and name this one Body. And then with it selected, you want to zero out reflections and make roughness 1, just to make sure it's not too shiny in the beginning. And then let's select that one, hold down Shift, and make 2 more. Because we're going to have a material for the inside of the mouth, and one for the tongue, and one for the body in this case. Connect them up, and then change the names. This will be mouth, and this will be tongue. Now, select your creature's body and drag the output node and drop that onto the creature, and you will see that things don't look very good to start. Let's start by making the tongue whatever color you want, because the tongue is an element. So let's click that swatch and maybe make it some kind of a pink color. And then we can go to element mode and select the tongue since it is its own element, and that is material number 3. So scroll down and find material IDs right here and make that one number 3. Now, to make things a little easier on ourselves, let's select the tongue in element mode, come up to the modeling ribbon, and hide selected, and that will hide the tongue for us. And then let's go to polygon mode, and inside the mouth here, I want you to click one polygon on this little epiglottis here, hold down Control, and double click on the one next to it, and that should select that whole ring. Then we're going to use Grow to grow our selection until we have selected the inside of the mouth. And if you go too far, like I think that's good. And that should do it. If you go too far, you can click Shrink to go back one. Now all of these need to be the inside of the mouth, which is 2. So let's make those number 2. Then we can make them everything else needs to be the body. So to select everything else, I'm going to go to Edit, select Invert, and that selects everything else. And we're going to make those number 1 and make the body whatever color you want it to be. Then you can unhide the tongue by going back to element mode and clicking Unhide All. Now we need a separate material for the eyelids. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the body material. I'm just going to select it and hold down Shift because it needs to be the same color anyway. And I'm going to name this Eyelids and apply it to the eyelid objects. And we need one for the teeth. I'm going to drag out a new one here. I'm going to name this one Teeth. And it's very important that you name these. I'm going to make these white because later on we're going to do something else with this and you're going to want them to be named so you know what's what. Now the teeth can be shiny, so I'm going to just leave that one alone. I'm going to leave the reflections and stuff alone, and there we are. Now when we select the body and turn on NURBS, make it 2 iterations, we have our creature. And we're now ready to set up lighting and rendering and export this to whatever other program we want. In the next couple of videos, I'm going to show you how to add more detail by creating hands and toes and claws and maybe even a tail. And I'll see you then.